I'm OEA President Scott Tomorrow. Time for my weekly update. As I'm looking out the window, I'm seeing sunshine. It's been nice experiencing some warm temperatures. All signs that spring is coming. Hoping to see the last of those snow piles finally melting as we get closer and closer to springtime, and then of course that means getting closer to summertime and to the end of this very, very long school year. This is also a reminder that we are getting closer to the end of the COVID crisis. It's been exactly 1 year since school shut down and we had to transition to remote learning on a dime. And in that year, your efforts have been nothing short of heroic in continuing to have learning happening in all different kinds of settings. I hope you've gotten your vaccine, and as more and more of us get vaccinated, as we ensure that conditions are safer in our buildings, as we get to a place where the coronavirus can finally be behind us, it is a time to really come together as a profession and as a community to make sure we're doing all we can to meet the needs of our students. I want to say thank you to the members of Congress who are about ready to pass the American Rescue Package, which includes nearly $130 billion in targeted assistance to education. 90% of those funds will go directly to local school districts. That'll allow us to make sure that we maintain healthy and safe conditions, but it'll also allow us to direct attention to our students who have been most impacted by the coronavirus pandemic of the last year. We need to make sure that we're hiring nurses, counselors, social workers, that we're providing individual attention, that we're thinking beyond just simply summer school and after school programs, but really doing what our students need. We also need a sustainable state funding system to ensure that we have equity and adequacy, that we have fairness and predictability in the long run to make sure that every single student in the state of Ohio receives a great public education. We're getting closer and closer to having the Fair School Funding Plan passed by the House and then moving to the Senate, where we expect it's going to be part of this budget. We're going to need your help to talk with your legislators to make sure that we get the Fair School Funding Plan over the finish line. Speaking of legislators, I'm getting ready to head over to the State House in just a few minutes to testify in support of House Bill 67. House Bill 67 will ensure that students are not penalized in terms of their graduation requirements for anything connected with this spring's tests. We hate that we have to do these tests, but as long as they're there, we have to make sure that there are no adverse consequences for districts, schools, educators, or students. And House Bill 67 is a critical step to make sure that that happens. Before I close, just an observation. I've heard that some of you may have seen new mailings from the so-called Freedom Foundation encouraging people to drop their union membership. This is a good reminder of just how important unions are for all of us. According to the most recent Bureau of Labor Statistics estimates, unionized employees make 20% more on average than non-unionized employees in the same jobs. And on top of that, unions do more than anything else to close gaps between genders and races and ethnicities. This is Women's History Month. This is a time where we honor all the accomplishments of women in the history of the United States. And that's especially important for us in our profession, where so many of our women so many of our members are women and women leaders. There was a time when women and men in education were paid on separate scales. Elementary teachers were paid less than secondary teachers, elementary teachers predominantly female, secondary teachers predominantly male. It was unionization and the single salary schedule that came from collective bargaining that changed that closed that gap. And so no longer do we have two tiers of educators and their pay. We need to stick strong together. We know that as union members, that's where we find strength for health and safety. That's where we find strength for economic well-being. That's where we find strength in being able to serve our students. Thank you all for being active members in our union, for all you do in support of one another, for all you do for students. I hope you make it a great week.